Can everyone see and hear me now that I have admitted people? Fantastic. I'm just letting people in at the minute, and we will start in a few. Please do use the chat box to say hello, tell me who you are. Just very friendly, you see. Good Lord, there's a lot of people coming in. Oh my gosh. I'm not nervous much. Oh my gosh, people from Australia and Canada. Ah, wait, did anyone from the UK actually turn up? Oh, good. We have got UK people. I didn't just like attract an international audience. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I haven't been to either Canada or Australia, and I feel like I should. I'll give it till 5 past to start, because I'm aware, obviously, people with back-to-back meetings and all that kind of jazz. Hoping that, some people have had chance to grab a drink. So if you're thinking, oh, I've got to get to this meeting, I haven't got a drink, by all means, please get one now. You have 4 minutes. I can't say that, intermittently sunny Warwickshire. Very nice. Oh, I love Cardiff. I got very drunk in Cardiff. Beginning to regret having a lobby because I have to keep add people in, and I'm all by my little self. So do bear with me. Currently have 101 of you. This is your one. You got 3 minutes left if you need a drink. If you found the chat box, it means you've also found the Q&A box, which is right next door to it, I believe. And I've already loaded some questions in there, and there's an opportunity to win some prizes for just simply being awesome and attending this webinar. I've got 109, 2-minute warning. I'm not just finishing my slides, honest. But to put an any questions thing on the end and just adding it in. And for those who are here for the dress content, we have my whole like 50s dress on, and because I'm sat down, I didn't put a petticoat on, but it basically it crosses over at the back. It's people interested in what dress I'm wearing at the time because of my RM Girl dress watch. I have that sort of people not dressing up as much on Teams and stuff like that. So I actually posted another one on my LinkedIn that I wore yesterday. If you're interested, by all means connect with me because I love connecting with people on LinkedIn, and you never know, you might get over the 5,000 followers. Who knows? All right, it's 5 past. I told people that they needed to be back in time. I'm just going to do one last admit to the lobby, and that brings us to 121 people. Check you guys out. You are awesome. So, Stephen, I always wear a fun shirt when I'm presenting about data. You've got to make it interesting. Like, get everyone to look at you. Because slides are boring, and that's actually my biggest hate. I hate putting lots of text on slides, but in this case, I've had to. So that you're aware, I will make my slides available. I will send them out to the registered people. So feel free to abandon your pen for some of this because you don't need to write what's on the slides, as you will get the slides afterwards. Okay, let's go ahead and share my screen. Just make sure I've got a very big screen. All right. Okay, so are we all good? Can everybody see my presentation? I'm really glad you sorted it, Catherine, because we don't want to echo. That I'll not do that again. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining me today. We're now at 129 people. And I did promise some people, that this session is recorded. So not only will you get access to the slides, you'll also get access to the recording of this afterwards. Feel free to chat in the chat box, but I can't see you all the time. So I do need to remind myself to go and have a look because I'm just by myself today. I don't have any colleagues that are able to tell me what's going on in the chat. So do just bear with me. I am a lone ranger today. And I actually have Claire's little sign for me that I have on my wall that says, "Put your positive pants on, girl." And that's something that I am living by at the minute. So we're here because basically is that I keep getting frustrated with AI this, AI that. Oh my God, AI. And it's in that situation where I thought, whoa, hang on a minute. People are putting AI on their systems and don't really understand the implications of that. And I'm probably assuming here that the 130 people that have come on here today do understand the implications, but nobody's standing on a soapbox and pointing it out. So I think that I was going to do it instead because I love my soapbox. And I know that there are a couple of people in the meeting chat that are soapbox people. We have Andrew Wallen from Australia with his SharePoint knowledge, so that's good because he is one of my go-to guys for everything SharePoint. So if you are in the chat, anyone has got any SharePoint questions, I defer them to Andrew. Sorry, Andrew. Um, uh, we actually only just met recently after years and years of knowing each other. Until then, I thought both of us, our bodies stopped at here. Oh, all right. So, who am I? If you don't already know who I am, I really hate this bit because it's kind of I have to talk about myself and I hate it. So I have been doing information and records management for now 20 years. It turned 20 years this year when I did my first filing classification. And what a ride it's been since. I'm currently self-employed, but I am playing with the concept of going back into a business, but also I'm leaning into being associates with other organizations so that they can benefit from my knowledge rather than me just being in a sole business. Because I feel like once you disappear inside a large organization, you don't get the opportunity to talk as much. And I quite like my soapbox. So I'm still trying to keep Records Management Girl alive, but we'll see what that comes from. After 10 years of doing records management, I went to university and I went basically for the shits and the giggles, but there was very few giggles. I came out with my records and information rights PGDIP. I am still looking at my my dissertation to change it into a master's. I will talk like Donkey from Shrek about records management because you can't shut me up. I actively hate SharePoint, hence why I point everyone to Andrew. Now, if you give me enough money, I will do SharePoint, but to be honest, is that there are much better people out there doing SharePoint. I much prefer records management. And if you've already switched off, I love cheese scones. I can't beat a cheese scone. Anyone else like a cheese scone, or are we just like all about the jam and cream? I'm like, yeah. I drew this many, many years ago from a point of view of nobody likes to talk about the records management continuum. And I do. But you can't sell the continuum because it's boring. It doesn't demonstrate to people an understanding of how a record works unless you are a records management person. I drew this with the intent of explaining it to senior management or basically anyone on how a record works and how its life continues through its life to disposition. So obviously you have 5 stages here of creation, use, storage, review, and disposal. And then you also have the archives claw. And if you can see behind me, I actually have one of the aliens. I see the archives claw like the claw coming down out of review and taking it off for permanent preservation. You'll find out that I also strongly object to the word permanent because for me, permanent means 1,000 years plus. So if anybody has got permanent on their retention schedules, I think that you should be reviewing it and taking it out and putting in perhaps 20 years for review. Because permanent should not be anything other than 1,000 years plus, and also identified by an archivist. And you should bring that archivist in right at the very beginning. Now, the problem that we have, I don't know, actually, can you see my mouse on my screen? I just need one person. Can you see it moving? Teeny tiny. Yeah, sorry. So imagine there is a dotted line between storage and review, because in a lot of organizations, that is where a record's life cycle stops. It goes into storage and then nothing else ever happens. Um, and I need you to kind of remember this as we go on and talk about AI, because that's pretty important. I get brought in to help organizations manage their storage, either taking them from a current storage provider and moving to a cheaper one, or just organizing records for whether they need to go to storage or not. So yeah, let's just remember that dotted line here, and we'll talk about it more later. So imagine what you could do if you could talk to your business data. I have done subject access requests and I've read social care files. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to know. Like, yeah. But there are plenty of AI software out there at the minute, and I've just mentioned a couple of the most big ones: ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot, Meta AI. I think X has got one as well. Does anybody know what the name of it is? It's probably something like XAI because he likes minimal. Um, but I Grok. It's called. Wow. Okay. Mm, is it Grok? It's Stranger in Strangerland reference. I guess that's kind of quite accurate, really. But I wouldn't have known that without you telling me, Lucy. Is there anybody? It's been in the news a lot recently for its racism. Oh yeah, I heard about that actually. There was something said. It was just before the chief executive resigned with no understanding of why she resigned, because the night prior there had been a lot of anti-Semitism um, that was yeah, Grok has become anti-Semitic and loving Hitler. It's all a bit odd. Thank you, Zoe. Oh, here we go. Stephen's coming in with the facts. The term grok originated in Robert A. Heinlein's 1961 stranger fiction novel Stranger in Strangerland. Whoa, the chat is blowing up. It called itself Mecha Hitler. Oh wow. Wow. That's quite something. Ooh, do not approve. Elmo from Sesame. Oh God, someone has oh, poor Elmo. Elmo from Sesame Street's account was hacked and started putting out vitrolic tweets. Do not. Do you know? I'm fine with Elmo, but if you mess with number 10 cat, then we've got a problem. I have actually come off Twitter now. I didn't close my account down. I simply just stepped away from it, which is a shame because I really like Twitter. That's where Ryan Girl kind of became a thing. So the word grok means to understand something deeply and intuitively, not just intellectually. Well, that's interesting because I'm finding a lot of stuff from AI is not deep and is not intuitive. Yeah, I love Twitter. It's X that I can't manage. Yeah, I basically left my Twitter account and it's turned into an X account, which I am. Yeah, I didn't have Elmo's account on my bingo card for 2025. I remember your Twitter post from the beginning. I've got an OG fat fan. That sounds weird. Um, anyways, moving apart. So where did artificial intelligence come from within the UK? So back in 2023, there was a policy paper about a pro-innovation approach to AI regulation. But it identified it as like products and services that are adaptable and autonomous. But the question around this that I've highlighted in capitals, it's after being trained that you need to think about it. And there's a question there for me is, how are we training AI? Are we just letting them have the data and let them get on with it? I don't know. The autonomy of AI refers to some AI systems that can make decisions without the intent or ongoing control of a human. I hate that sentence because maybe it's because I'm a bit of a control person. I like to have things managed. Who knew that I'd become a records manager? But the concept of our records just basically spiraling out of control because you don't have a human that can say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That puts the fear in me. I don't know about anybody else in the chat. Hi, Gillian. I said at the very beginning that you will be able to have access to the slides afterwards, as well as the recording. You need to show my IT managers who never include the archive in decisions and don't understand archives. I always say the biggest difference between an archivist and a records manager is the records manager likes to keep things, an archivist likes to throw stuff away, because you only ever keep like 2% of what you handed over, because most of it is just handed over because it's old, and that's not the case. A large part of them is just taking the data, see the issues around them, ingesting copyright works with no due regard. Exactly, there is a massive issue around copyright and also intellectual property. It feels almost a bit like, if anybody remembers Napster, the day of Napster, where there was loads of problems with managing original works and paying those for who actually deserve it. So yes, this is where this came from with artificial intelligence in the UK, and I apologize to my my international folk. I have solely focused on UK for this particular presentation. Now, if something comes up that I'm able to expand this a bit larger, then of course I'll love to help. Just drop me a DM if there's anything that I can help with. Now, based on that paper, I went and had a look at UK Parliament's post note, and I found it really interesting as to what it was saying. It was saying, you know, that AI systems can have a bias embedded in them, which can manifest through various pathways, including bias training data sets or bias decisions made by humans in the design of algorithm. So there's an element here that you've got a problem that AI is potentially working by itself, but also being had prejudice or bias placed in it by the humans that were there in the first place. So it's kind of a bit of a, we need a balance. But how we get that balance, I don't have the answer for that. And that is a problem, not just for me having the answer for that, but for anybody having the answer for that. You know, we've got this hurricane of information swirling next to us, and loads of people going, I know that I put that information there, but I now don't know what to do with it. I created that hurricane, but I actually don't know now how we control that hurricane. Can we control that? In it referenced in the post note P07, and I do have the link for that, which I'll also share in the chat as well. For people that are joining late, please know that this is recorded, and you will get the slides after the event. Now, there's an issue here around the implications for security, privacy, transparency, liability, labour rights, intellectual property, copyright was mentioned in the chat, and disinformation. It presents some risks and benefits to democracy more widely. Now, you're going to have as many benefits as you are disbenefits, but the risk element is problematic. I go to so many presentations and everyone's singing about, this is how you do AI, and this is what's coming down the line, and all those kind of things. And I'm like, guys, we're not ready for this. And it kind of like reminds me of David Cameron, when he was like, Britain will do Brexit and we will get through it. And you kind of look at it and go, Dave, mate, we can't even we can't even cope with snow. How are we going to cope with Brexit? And that is the same process here. Is like, there are, we've got AI that's doing all these wonderful things, but it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. We haven't also managed the other problems that are going. So we don't have any dedicated AI legislation in the UK. Now, the way that I say this with public sector versus private sector, public sector, the UK legislation tells you what you can do. Private sector, the legislation tells you what you're not allowed to do. So when it comes to the private sector, if we don't have AI legislation, fantastic. There's nothing to tell them to say they can't do it. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to stop the private sector from abusing the data and using that data and making it something that it shouldn't be? Now, I feel like I should have a tinfoil hat on or something like that, because I feel like I'm a bit of a party pooper, because I'm like, that's lovely, but there's so many problems already. Lucy has said, I've already heard students saying to each other, just ask ChatGPT to decide a point between them. I saw a meme actually the other day that said, you're looking a lot happier, and the other person says, oh yeah, I uploaded our argument into ChatGPT and it said I was right. Which I was like, I never thought about that. I could use it for that, but I'm too sworn off AI right now. There may come a day that I turn around and said, yes, okay, I'm happy to get on board with AI, but not until we've got some sort of controls in place that can keep it in its box. Is there anything more archivist than saying I want to put something in a box? Pro-innovation approach with only existing legislation in place and enforced by existing regulators. So what they're basically saying is that we haven't got legislation for AI, but we're going to use the existing legislation in place, such as data protection, to be enforced by existing regulators. Well, for those of you who haven't checked out the Q&A tab, there is an ability to win this t-shirt. It's an XL in green, and it says, I had John Edwards as our information commissioner, and all I got out of his term was this lousy t-shirt. So when they say only existing legislation in place enforced by existing regulators, yeah. Elizabeth Denham, come back. I'm sorry. I was so disappointed by Elizabeth Denham's role, but now it makes it look like she was doing amazing. Who knew? So we need to think more carefully about this in terms of how we're going to manage with existing regulator not regulating and too busy moving from Wilmslow to Manchester. So we do have the Data Protection and Digital Information Bill coming down the road. It's currently at the committee stage in the House of Lords. So as you can see, it's gone all the way through the Commons. It's done its first and second reading. It's now at committee stage, but it's got to get a bit further yet before we get royal assent. What is in that bill? So some stakeholders have indicated that additional legislation and action may be required, including mandatory impact assessment, bans on certain AI, and a right for human intervention to challenge AI decision making. There are concerns that regulators are not currently equipped with the staffing, expertise, or funding to regulate AI. So is that actually in? Wait. Okay, so I'm missing a slide. And in that slide, it tells you what the actual, oh no, I've written it in my notes instead. What an idiot. So in the Data Protection and Digital Information Bill, a bill to make provision for regulation of processing of information relating to identified or identifiable living individuals, to make provision about services consisting of use of information to ascertain and verify facts about individuals, to make provision about access to customer data and business data, to make provision about privacy and electronic communications, to make provision about services for the provision of electronic signatures, electronic seals, and other trusts and services, and to make provision about disclosure of information to provide public service delivery, to make provision for the implementation of agreements on sharing information for law enforcement purposes, to make provision about the keeping and maintenance of registers of births and deaths, and to make provision about information standards for health and social care, to establish the Information Commission, to make provision about oversight of biometric data and for connected purposes. So this is actually currently, this is on their website. So if this is wrong, then it's a perfect example of not having up-to-date information or accurate information that could be misused. Josie is saying they took the AI transparency element out. So this is saying it's so yeah, so there you go. It's definitely wrong. Well done, Emily. But is there anything more accurate than finding something on the internet or in the system that's wrong? I think I've just proven my point. Don't you? It was online and I thought it was the most up to date, but it clearly isn't. In any case, in DUAA, there was nothing to do with AI because I've read DUAA. Or am I wrong? You tell me in the chat. Do you think DUAA covered AI? Just gonna. I do love a moment of sticking my foot right in it. Not that I noticed. Absolute wonderful use of a GIF, Brogan. So there you go. Finding some information and riding with it with not knowing that it's not up to date and correct. Did I do that on purpose? Who knows? So there is a problem on the screen anyways, because I believe that DUAA did not have any AI elements, and it said that the ping pong was all relating to AI and copyright. Interesting, Cara, thank you. But my question herein is that the DPDI, the DPODI that's now known as DUAA, this has all been going on since 2022. It's 3 years. How long is it going to take until we get some form of AI legislation, especially if they're still ping-ponging between copyright and AI? We in itself are struggling. What I will do with those slides is I'll make sure it's proven that, you know, it's not right, because I think it's very important to make sure that something is marked up as out of date or inaccurate so that it doesn't get used going forward. Maybe we will get it when the robots start to take over. Can I petition to have a robot called R2D2, please? Or C3PO? That's why Privacy Pooch, wherever he is named R2, ARTOO. I keep forgetting about my slides. I get on my rampage of talking and then go, oh yeah, I'm meant to be talking about this slide. This information came from the post note page for the research side of things. And the problem is that, you know, we haven't got any AI legislation. It got taken out of DUAA, and it's still, you know, it could take a lot longer to get information. When AI takes over writing the legislation, that might speed things up. Very nice, Irene. So if we have got already in place digital transformation in government happening, and we still haven't got anything about AI, what is the chance that when it says something like this, that digital transformation is broadly defined as the use of digital technology? Is digital technology AI? At one or more of the following levels: changing processes and services from analog to digital, rethinking the way a process or a service is provided, or redesigning the way a business or organization runs through implementation of digital digital technology. And it very much is that with Gromit. That was an absolute superb film at Christmas. So, chef's kiss. This, I put it all on the screen for you to be able to see. Okay, so riding the AI train. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A tab if you fancy joining in. There's also an opportunity to win a prize too. I'm going to have a look in the Q&A tab. What worries you? So the question that I put in, what worries you the most about AI in your organization? That it's accepted as inevitable. Interesting. Folks are not trained on the downsides, such as hallucinations, etc. People use it incorrectly and indiscriminately. You don't know what people have access to. That's a very good point, Andrew. The free and enticing products. That's how we ended up with SharePoint. They started giving you licenses as part of your already existing Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And in some cases, IT just got carried away. However, it does mean that we got people like Andrew Warland around. So not quite complaining. Lack of real risk analysis based on poor understanding. People see it as a magic solution and assume it will do everything. That it's considered a solution and not a tool by some. The lack of expertise that staff have, and yet we're all being pushed to find it useful and think of opportunities. The organizations are afraid of being left behind, so they'll rush into it using it without thinking properly about whether they should use it or not. That point, Lucy, that you commented is exactly what I mean about okay, that didn't work very well. That was exactly the point that I meant in here. That digital transformation is broadly defined as the use of digital technology at one or more following levels, changing processes and services. You know, people are actively, we've got active projects in place that are happening, and they're worried about being left behind. Not having governance, I'm fairly despondent. That point will come where the truth doesn't matter. The people are using it with no real purpose, e.g. sustainability, and necessarily data will be being input and people are unaware of the governance and risk. People don't think of the risks and indiscriminately enter personal data. If you try and put on the brakes, you're seen as a barrier to progress. That point, yes, I think that's really interesting because that's what I feel like with this presentation is that I'm going, no, no AI, no thank you. And it's like, who's a party pooper? Because who doesn't want to be able to have song lyrics about records management made up? I don't know if anybody saw what I did with AI. I wrote a speech about how good records management is required um, in the voice of Donald Trump. And this was just after his records element. Maybe I should post it again just for the funny element of it. Yeah. So another question that I wrote in was, do you have AI already in your organization? If so, who introduced it and who made the most of the decisions? So I'm an organization of one person, so I've been experimenting with various AI tools. Interesting. We've used it in some projects and we have policy and a task force that looks at uses of AI. Executive management team is the final decision maker. Yes, most of the decision making was made by a service manager with significant support from information governance. Yes, it's been used across our very large national organization in the records department. We have bots that automate project files coming into digital storage. They run tests on content. Our manager made the decision. It isn't organization wide as far as I know. Ooh, that's a bit of a, are people using it or not? Just testing so far, heavily managed by information governance team. We're currently in the process of rolling our Copilot and Copilot chat, org-based only, currently writing the policy for it and hoping to put out some guidance that is user-friendly, so it's fully understood about capabilities and authorized usage. Also looking at using external AI software to run across the business area. To categorize unstructured data. Some may even help with redaction and cataloging. It's scattered across the organization with several people using it and talking about it, but no overall control of governance. Interesting. There was a bill by Lord Holmes introduced into the Lords, the Artificial Intelligence Regulation Bill. Not sure where that is currently though. Oh, I will have a look and I will put some links in if I find anything interesting. The diluted copyright and AI provisions are covered under sections 135 to 137 of DUA under a section entitled Copyright Works and Artificial Intelligence Systems. It doesn't feel like it's going to be enough though. You say diluted. Just in answer to your question, Rick, you asked about whether there was RM Discord server once. Yes, there is still the RM Discord server, the storage room. It unfortunately, because of Twitter moving to X, a lot of the bots that I had in place to pull information all into one place have broken. But if you would like to look it up on Discord, the storage room, you're more than welcome to join in. And anybody on this chat can join. It's a place where I was trying to compile all news articles or legislation, commentary, and everything in one place. Okay, right. I think I've covered all the comments that were on the Q&A. So it took me ages to work out what LLM actually is. And I don't know if any this shocked a lot of people because I kept on thinking about LLP. I was like, what's that got to do with lawyers? When LLM means large language model. And I think we need to take a sit back before we implement and say, what are we pointing it at? What are we allowing AI to do? Who can use AI and what for? Should everyone have access? What happens if something comes up that shouldn't? So I can't remember the name of the person that said this, that they were writing guidance at the minute. Make sure that you've got something in there that details what to do if something goes wrong. How are we managing this in itself? And AI has the capability to do numerous amounts of things, from decisions to images to not finishing a sentence, to making jokes, it can do anything pretty much. So we need to be making sure that we are controlling it as much as we can and informing staff what they can and can't do. And one of the things that I have said in this next slide, that's not moving over, you get out what you put in, and in some cases you might have some diamond stuff that you find, but equally, quite frankly, you put shit in, you get shit out. If you would like to take a screenshot of this, I was quite proud of myself. So what do we need to do? Exactly the phrase you use. Yeah, I don't feel it has any other best way of putting it. You put rubbish stuff in, you put rubbish stuff out. It doesn't really give the gravitas to it. So what do we need to do? So I mentioned in the description of this webinar was that, what are the things that we need to do? We need to be looking at records management policy. If you haven't got one, shame on you. If you have got one, it should be no more than 2 to 3 pages long. So if you've got a 50-page policy, nobody has ever read it, ever. And if they say they've read it, they're probably me. You also need to look at your retention schedule. We often have a retention schedule in place, but it never gets used. So going back to my slides earlier, that I said here, imagine the dotted line. Everything goes into storage, but we never ever get rid of it, so that it doesn't get, the life cycle does not move on. It always stays in the storage place. So make sure that you are acting on your retention schedules and actually putting them in place. I guess this makes me an archivist. When in doubt, throw it out. Yeah, if it's not worth it, get rid of it. And this is what will help with AI. So when you've got plenty of people busting the gut to try and use AI. If you are actively getting rid of stuff, you're going to have much better quality information. So it's almost, you might try and control the use of AI, but actually what you should be doing is controlling it from the back end. So get rid of the data, because you're never going to really be able to control AI. I think it is going to be a case of it just will keep turning. The use of like a hurricane image, as I mentioned earlier, is pretty much what we're looking at. So you can't put a net around a hurricane, so why bother trying? Instead, look at what that hurricane is being created from and sort it out from there. Information risk register. This should be on your main risk register. And you should be planning for what AI could possibly do and how you'll mitigate it. Hopefully, if you're not leaving a trail of destruction behind, if you have managed the stuff that it was trying to destroy. I'm going to go with that ish. You should also be getting involved in the decision making around AI. And if you're not having meetings about it or you're not hearing anything about it, start meetings and become a nuisance. What we do in our roles is important, and you need to remember that. And this could have massive implications on the general public. So you becoming a nuisance is important. Your data protection policy should, and I'm not talking about your privacy notice, I'm talking about an actual data protection policy, detailing about the use of AI and whether or not it's approved usage for personal data. You need to have it mentioned in your policy. Again, policies should be very short, but make sure that you cover AI in it. You also need to have an artificial intelligence policy with more detail than what you put in the data protection policy and cross-reference the two. And give training on how to use information, and if it's getting used wrongly, then they should know who to report it to. Update your HR policies on what constitutes poor use of AI so that it can be controlled, because you need to be able to reprimand people if they are doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing with AI. If they upload an entire database of all of your personal data into an AI product because they want to know what the answer is, that's wrong. So if it's not approved within your organization that ChatGPT can be used for personal data or any organizational information, it should be in your HR policy. Update your privacy notice. If you haven't have it actively in use, you need to tell people, so have some transparency about it. And also have ways for people to reject the use of AI, because ultimately, if it's a product that's not managed in-house, you need to have a processing condition for using AI appropriately. Even better, have an information governance policy that highlights the need for records management, AI tools, controls, risk management, and information security. The only problem with that, Irene, is it gets a very meaty big policy. So I actually prefer to have smaller policies focused on individual areas, because there's more chance that people are going to read them if they are small. So yeah, that is where we come to with this presentation. It is 7 minutes to 2. Does anybody have any questions? You can also find me on LinkedIn. Just a reminder, my name is Emily Overton. But if you put linkedin.com/rmgirluk, you'll find my you should find my profile. apologies for the road bumps that we had as we went through it, but hopefully this has been useful to you. As I mentioned, you'll get the recording and you'll get the slides. I'll send them all. Are we able to share the recording? Yeah, it's public. I do think that that minor bump in the road actually proved my point about AI. If you could do me a favor and write a quote on LinkedIn or in the comments, and people will win. I'll be in contact if you win. So I've got, this is the bag. And these are the mini zip bags. These are all handcrafted by myself. I make them myself. And if you don't win, you can buy them on my shop. There's just a comment about it being in HR policy. HR policies cover disciplinary actions in all types of misconduct. It's not a HR role to include specifically AI-related issues. I use it as a catch-all because not everyone has specific names of roles. I know that it should be in acceptable use of ITE policy. Every organization must have, but everyone's got different names for different things. I'm sure if you, as a records manager, go over to HR, they will point you in the right direction as to which one it must be in. And I'll see you over on LinkedIn. Thanks very much, everyone. Just going to sit and watch the numbers go as I can see the comments. Who are those people waiting till the very last minute? Could you share the slides in the chat? Yes, I will do. I need to edit them just to point out that one of the slides is false information.